Welcome to the Showtime All the Time podcast. I'm Dennis Bickmeyer, the Executive Director of the Henrico Sports and Entertainment Authority. Doing something a little different this time. We're not in studio. We're actually at the Henrico Sports and Events Center because it is the 1-year anniversary of the Henrico Sports and Events Center. We have big celebrations planned December 6th through the 8th. Come out and join us for the Holiday Cheer and Gear Classic Weekend. We've got donation drive that's happening during the day to support Salvation Army and the Cheer and Gear program. We're playing the Battle of the Badges, police versus fire basketball game that night, 7 o'clock, free and open to the public. And in between those two things, we're going to do the 1-year anniversary celebration, do a little champagne toast to everybody here that's been with us for a year and really have made this building a major accomplishment, including the two guys sitting here with me. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, but like I said, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do like 3 segments today and bring in a lot of different people over the course of those 3 segments who have had a lot of impact on this building. So again, turn to my right. Will, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Will Berryman. I'm the general manager for the facility with the management company ASM Global.
And I'm Rob Welch. I'm venue operations manager here at the Sports and Events Center. I work for Dennis in the Sports and Entertainment Authority, but I'm the boots on the ground here at the center every day.
So what we want to do today, and I don't have a script actually, which is kind of my first time really being unscripted here, is really just talk about, the year in review. And and look at that gas. No, it's been a lot of fun. But really just to tell some stories and just to, again, kind of go and reflect back. So I want to start with, all right, Will, you guys came in to this project, ASM Global, right about the time we were cutting the ribbon. So talk about those early months and getting up and running.
We jumped right into the deep end from the get-go. Once I started, I had basically 3 weeks to get a full staff, full-time, part-time, and everything in between. And this year went fast. We lucked out with getting a strong team from the get-go, which has helped us succeed this first year. But this year is fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did hit the ground running, and as we said too, like we started with 46 weekends booked right out of the gate in when we were opening this building. So, and Rob, as mentioned, works for our team. So, Rob, you also jumped right in. You got to you work daily with the ASM team. Rob's embedded over here in the building representing the SCA. So, the 46 weekends, when you looked out across the calendar for the first year, what were your thoughts?
I'll tell you, coming in, so I started July 1 when the building was still not operational and it's still kind of conception, right? Here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to be doing. Will comes on board right when we're cutting ribbons and it's like, here we go, looking at this calendar already full. During COVID, it's kind of like, we're going to fly the plane as we build it. That's what we were doing this year. So you already had this schedule that was built in, and we literally, I remember week 1, first event, we were running around grabbing trash cans from Home Depot, trying to get things into the building so that we could run these things. And luckily, with the staff that we had on both teams, we were able to do it and execute it, but it was the quickest year ever, like Will said. We were flying around.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. Again, we just kind of blinked, and now we're on our way into year 2. So this year has been a mix of a lot of youth sports activities throughout the year. Really been a lot of our bread and butter. So big basketball, big volleyball, futsal, and then a lot of special events. So any memories that jump out to you either from the youth tournament side or some of the special events that we've had this year?
Probably one of the biggest one is working through the A10 process of, we're probably one of the few facilities that puts a hardwood court over a hardwood court. So working through some of that logistics of getting the court delivered here and then getting into place was a lot of working together, bringing the minds together of how to safely move it across our nice courts and put another nice court on top of it. Was a fun challenge, and it was nice to see once we figured it out and the final result, it looked fantastic.
And it looked great on television too, by the way.
I think on the youth side, one thing that we found, a lot of us came from different organizations where we were working with youth groups and working with youth sporting events. Obviously on a grander scale now, we found that with our volleyball events, we knew that they were going to run and it was going to be busy, but we just really saw with those first couple events where it brought thousands of people into the building at the same time, really kind of stressing the building to its max. That was kind of eye-opening, but also it taught us how the building breathes and how things are going to work, and really helped us fine-tune it for when events come back up.
Well, and I think that's a great point too. Is like we keep saying that we learned a lot. So every event we had, we were learning something that made us better for the next one. So again, operationally, do you think the building has kind of met what you thought it would do? But operationally, not again with the types of events and stuff we have, but just physically working in the building.
For the events we have, it has worked very well with working through construction through the first year, being able to shift events around in the building so they do not see any construction. So being able to manipulate the building has been fantastic the first year. Groups have been ecstatic coming in to seeing how well kept the building is kept from other facilities, and kind of the level of events that we've been able to host this first year.
Yeah, the building's really a chameleon. We can do with it what we want. You can segment it 100 different ways. You can make it look like a ballroom. You can make it look like a sporting event, and we can do everything in between. So functionally, yeah, we found, I think realistically, we've barely scratched the surface, and we're finding we can probably do more with it operationally because of the way that it is set up.
Well, and I think that's a good point too, because I like to tell people that we didn't build a gymnasium here. We built a multi-purpose event center. And what I love about this building is the flexibility that we have. It could be a 12-court basketball facility. It could be a 24-court volleyball facility. It could be a 3,500-seat plus arena. I mean, that's really cool to have that flexibility too. And I think it has served us well when you look at the variety of events that we have. I mean, as we're recording this, we're about to get set up for a craft show. And we've had a real estate conference in here. And we've had the Sports Hall of Fame banquet and State of the County. And just the variety, I think, that we've been able to. Graduations, that's right. Oh, let's talk about that. I mean, we brought it up. Let's talk about that. I mean, 9 high school graduations in 2024, moving on to 17 of them in 2025. So, but talk about that too. So talk about, again, the community being able to come in here and enjoy, our own graduations happening right here.
Graduations, we were nervous kind of going into, to put it gentle. But through working with the staff of the school system, our internal staff, the amount of planning and probably some areas of over planning, I felt that graduations went fantastic. The building looked great. The flip we had to do from volleyball. Volleyball. So we went from a 24-court volleyball tournament, one of the largest we've held, to straight into graduations with flipping the entire arena to the arena setup, getting the stage in, getting LED walls put in. But none of that would happen without everybody having the communication prior, being able to have a plan in place. And then we were able to execute that, the graduations, I think, almost flawlessly. From the outside looking in, I would say flawlessly. And I think what you're seeing because of that and how we were able to execute it, both with Henrico County and Caroline, who jumped in last year, right? They're a neighboring jurisdiction, but they saw it as an opportunity to come in. They had a good experience. Now, we've gone from a Henrico County graduation to Caroline to now we're hosting multi-jurisdictional. The neighbors, it's the Henrico Sports and Events Center, but really it's helping the entire Richmond community because Hanover's jumped in, King William, the Ace Centers, and there's others that are knocking on the door. So it's becoming a destination.
Yeah, and again, I think having that flexibility to be able to have that arena configuration, obviously, we couldn't do what we guys were just talking about without having that type of setup. So, all right, so as we get ready to wrap up this first segment with you guys, funny stories, funny anecdotes, what do you have?
I have one that comes to mind, and it involves myself and luckily just me, and nobody else saw it, but A10 was such a big event for everybody, right? We did so much front-end planning, working with both staffs and the staff from the A10, and we did a little celebratory toast afterwards. But after, I think, day 2 or day 3, we were wrapping up for the night and grabbed a beer, and I'm going into the arena. I go off the carpet, and my shoe was wet or something, and I did the Bugs Bunny flip over your head, almost fall on your bottom, and I look around, and I'm like, Nobody saw that. It was just me. But we have cameras, so nobody pulled it up, thank God, and we've moved on. But it was just that whole week and the kind of camaraderie that it brought. It was like, I'm grabbing a beer because I'm going to go up and we're going to hang out with our friends that we're doing it with. So just that was a funny one. I'm glad I didn't break anything.
I think mine is kind of circling back to our first event we had here. Ryan Malloy, my operations director, Rob, were kind of making sure we had everything in place, and then starting to look at the court set up, and we had the chairs set right and the score table set right, and then we go, so trash cans. And we're like, yep, we definitely need to go get those. Didn't have one in sight. All we had were blaze orange construction trash cans. So doing a last minute Home Depot run to kind of make sure we had something to do with the trash was something we chuckled after.
How far we've come.
That's right. And now we have trash cans outside too. And Rob's laughing because I've asked for them for, I don't know, a couple months. Yeah. So I'm sure they always enjoy when I come over. So
we wanted them to be nice. They just didn't want to roll out a Rubbermaid out there, so they're nice looking trash cans.
I'm surprised none of you guys, turned anything towards me and like, oh, here's the light police. The light police guy is here. So I'm sure if Ryan, by the way, stuck in an airport, but if Ryan were here joining us, he'd be pointing the finger at me as the light police.
Dennis does like to go into rooms and make sure all the lights are off while things are going on here.
That's right. So, well, anyways, look, it's again, when you think about this building operationally, and again, going through our first year, everything that we've learned, the variety of events that we've thrown at you guys, I keep going back to that variety. You guys have knocked it out of the park. You guys have answered, answered the bell multiple times. And we're still not done. Obviously, there's still a lot of different construction things that are happening in the building. We have a year under our belt now where we've looked at the building, again, with that operations hat on, like, hey, we should maybe tweak this, change that. So for those that haven't been in the building for a while, you'll start to see a few alterations here and there. But I think that's all part of keeping everything in here fresh. And so as we wrap up this first segment, say thank you to you guys, thanks to the team, and everyone pulling together to really make this facility a reality. So thank you all, and keep up the great work. Welcome back. I got some new guests, as we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. So I'm joined by Megan and Michael. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell everybody what you do.
Okay. I'm Megan Hazard, Manager of Business Development and Event Operations for the Henrico Sports and Entertainment Authority. I help bring in tournaments to the Sports Center and different outdoor events as well.
Hey, Michael McCormick, Manager of Manager of Business Development and Client Relations, kind of a mouthful there. Similar to Megan, also responsible for bringing events to Henrico County, both here in the Sports and Events Center and on the outdoor side.
So we talked a lot in the first segment about how busy this facility is. So again, we kept throwing out that number, 46 weekends of activity, a lot of activity during the week. These are the guys responsible for the majority of that, and working with a number of our partners, and we'll get into all that. But talk a little bit, both of you guys, about going out and talking to promoters, booking a building that, again, was under construction, when you guys were out there talking to promoters, showing them pretty pictures about that. So talk about that process a little bit.
We're really fortunate that the county was so intentional with where they put this building. So it's not a hard sales job. We're really lucky that this building is beautiful. The location, we can see 95. There's a Target across the street, so you can sell it to the parents with Dick's Sporting Goods and Target. So it's an easy sell, to be honest, with how beautiful the building is and the location. So it's fun going to the conferences and bragging about the space that we have. We have wait lists for weekends. So as salespeople, it's been great.
No, and I think Megan hit the nail on the head when she touched on location. I mean, even when we were doing hard hat tours, and this was just a big, giant, basically cinder block, as soon as you got in the parking lot, all you had to do was just point behind you and say, hey, there's 95, there's your artery, right? There's your main, transportation hub right here. And then you point where Henrico County is, not just in the Mid-Atlantic, but nationally, and the ease of getting here. That in and of itself made it an easy sell. I think people trusted us that we were going to build a world-class facility. So knowing that you could combine that with the location, it was, to Megan's point, it's been more turning people away than it has going out and actively trying to bring people in.
Yeah, making the puzzle pieces work, right?
Yes,
on the calendar.
is a puzzle.
Yeah,
that's for
yeah.
sure.
And it's interesting you mentioned those hard hat tours and things. I was always blown away when we brought somebody in here in an active construction site, and they would be like, I had no idea it was this big. I mean, that was just always amazing to me. So we had some event promoters that were early adopters that, like, you know, here, I want to sign. Talk about some of the promoters that you guys work with.
One of the very first projects was Atlantic 10 and bidding on that. I feel very invested in that one and a lot of ownership. That's my baby. I love that one. It was the first project I worked on when I started 2 years ago. And then, you know, creating the local organizing committee and inviting businesses, you know, a lot of people in the community have ownership of that event. So I love that event. It's one of those really cool big event feels. We get to the culmination in March and the confetti falls, and it's so much fun. But, you know, that's on the collegiate side. I also just love the youth side. I mean, we met this futsal group at one of the conferences that we traveled to meet these promoters, and hosted this national futsal camp. And that was just one of the coolest events too, because you have kids across the entire country, the best kids across the country here in Henrico for an entire week. These coaches that flew in from Spain, and you know, we just have such an array of people that are here. You know, AAU volleyball and Richmond Volleyball Club, futsal RVA. So we have local promoters that are hosting these huge events here, and the national promoters. So just the portfolio of events we have here is so much fun. So it's different, you know, every weekend. We have a trade show setting up right now in gymnastics last weekend. So it's just so much fun.
The variety is one of the things we touched on a lot with the first group. So how about you, Michael? Some of the early folks that jumped in and said, this is the place I wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for me, you know, you guys are going to laugh, but it starts and stops with Big Shots basketball, you know, and just a little backstory. I mean, I've been with Henrico County for quite some time, but I moved into the, you know, at the time, the tourism role with Rec and Parks, and November of 2019, went to my first trade show in December of 2019. The very first tournament promoter that I met was Jeff Schneider with Big Shots basketball. So to be able to actually see that come full circle, have him finally get into the building and start running his first event, I believe it was March of this past year, 2024. That was a really cool moment for me, both, you know, personally and professionally, just to see that, you know, relationship building actually pay off. The other one that stands out to me is, you know, the very first weekend that we were open. It was actually a joint effort between Megan and I. She had an event, I had an event, and we talk about the, you know, the flexibility of what we can do in this space and the variety of promoters we can have in here. On one side of the building, you know, the arena side, we have a Rubik's Cube competition. The other side of the building, we had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition, right?
Couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah, can't get more different, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum, but it worked. And, you know, I think that really kind of speaks to the ability of not just the building, but our ops staff, right? To be able to fit two different, you know, types of events in here at the same time, and not always work seamlessly, but for the most part, it's a good experience. And people want to come back and continue to do it.
Well, and again, we talk a lot about the flexibility that this building provides. And again, you see it even on the weekdays when you can come in here on a Tuesday or Wednesday and you got futsal going and you got volleyball going, you got basketball going. And I think that's the beauty of this building, is that we can't have that variety and we have that flexibility in the building. You know, through the history of these podcasts, we talk a lot about economic impact and what we do to bring visitors here, to stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, enjoy our attractions and everything. So obviously the economic impact with this building has been a real boost to our county. We've got some big events coming as well. You want to talk a little bit about next July and the next 3 years of what we have coming here?
Megan and I were very fortunate. We went to the Sports ETA conference, you know, last year in April, and came home with two different really great events. You know, Megan was able to lock in a national cornhole event, correct? Professional circuit, right?
Yep, their pro series that'll be televised. So we're excited about that for early next July, and then we'll roll into your new event.
So that'll roll into the very next weekend. You know, everybody talks about on the basketball front, you want to try to get one of the shoe circuits, and we were fortunate to get one. Puma is making a big push into the youth amateur space. They partnered with an independent circuit called Next Pro, and we were fortunate to just, you know, recently sign our deal with them for them to take our first July quote-unquote live period, which means that college coaches can be in the building. That'll be July 10th through the 13th, and one of the really cool aspects for us from a regionality standpoint is that event's not going to just be here in Henrico County. They're also going to be utilizing the Richmond Convention Center, putting courts down there, anticipating having over 400 college coaches in the town, in addition to between 400 and 500 teams, projected 3,000 room nights. So when you think about economic impact, you think about just the sheer amount of dollars that are going to get poured into this community, not just in Henrico County, but the Richmond region as a whole. It's so rewarding. We've been talking about this for years, and now it's finally here, and it's just, it's kind of eye-opening. So
yeah, it's been one of the things that you're right. During construction, people did talk a lot about get one of the shoe deals, and here we are. Now we're a few months away from that. So.
And people notice,
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
As soon as that gets announced, you start getting a few more phone calls like, "Hey, what's going on at that building? I want in." So it's success breeds more, right?
I think
so.
Doing something like the A10 tournament, national television, that happened as well, where people started calling right after we announced it. People were like, "Hey, what is this building?" Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah,
over
we
there?
thought you guys were building a gym.
Yeah,
we're not building.
a rec center.
Yeah, we didn't build a
Not
gym.
a rec center.
Yeah, no, and same thing. National Wheelchair Basketball, again, another signature event. Just really a lot of really cool events right out of the gate, and we've blinked and a year's gone by. So I want you to think back any fun stories that you want to share, or maybe any challenges that you want to share.
One of my favorite memories was from the Atlantic 10 tournament. We were so excited. I mean, we had like weekly calls, bi-weekly calls. I mean, I talked to them more than almost anyone else. And I know one thing that they were really excited about and important was the confetti. You're on the radio, it's something you cannot test out, and it was just one of those things that we're so excited. Packed house, Richmond's winning. We know
National television.
National television. And the horn goes off, and then the confetti just goes. It's like, no. So the actual effect of it wasn't great at the beginning, but then it turned, and at the end, all the players were doing the snow angels in the confetti, and seeing the girls do the snow angels, and then our
Silver
staff,
lining.
silver lining, that we got the best pictures of the mountains of confetti with the snow angels. And then Rob, who was just on, we have a great video of him sliding through the confetti, which it was so much fun. And just then we were all kind of playing in the confetti. So even though it didn't go as planned, we got great photos from it. And I think we are adding a second confetti cannon. So we learned from it too.
Yeah. We may still be cleaning up some of that confetti
we
too.
may find confetti still, yeah.
How about you, Michael?
Shoot, I mean, when we talk about humorous anecdotes, I don't have one specifically to point back to. I think back to when we first got the green light to actually book weekends, and just the back and forth between Megan and I. I'm not going to say we didn't know what we were doing, but we didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of making it up as we went, popping into her office, she'd pop into mine. Hey, what are you doing here? What am I, and just kind of figuring out as we go. We didn't know what we didn't know, and it just to see where we were then versus where we are now, actually having like a real price structure in place as opposed to back then. It's just kind of humorous to look back on just how. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but elementary it was back then, just not really knowing again what we were doing. From a specific event one, and I don't even know if I should share this one, but it was in, Dennis, you were here with me. It was that.
I think I know where this is going.
It was April 27th, 28th, Big Shots basketball again, 180 teams in the building, and not just the teams. You had NBA Hall of Famer Ralph Sampson's in the building, former NBA coach Kevin Eastman in the building, Paul Biancardi from ESPN is in the building. Construction going on, front loader knocks out the water line, and we lose water, right? and Dennis and I are running around like chickens with our heads cut off trying to figure out what's going on. And fortunately, the event promoter just looked at me and he said, "Michael, you're either going to fix it or you're not." So let me know when you know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep running my basketball tournament. So it's like, okay, cool. And they did. It took us about 30 minutes or so to actually get DPU out here, but got it fixed. So at the time, it was not funny. Looking back on it, it's kind of hilarious that just again the promoter's reaction of, "Hey man, I got stuff to do. Either you guys need to figure this out on your end," was kind of priceless.
First really big one with them, first really big one on the basketball, and you're like this close. Do we shut it down? Do we continue on? But DPU got out here and it was like, they had us back up and running, so that was great. So, we're getting ready to wrap up this segment. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all the work that you've done and poured into this building. And I should note too that it's not just this building that these two are focused on as well. They have all of our outdoor stuff that we have to do as well. So they keep extremely busy with all of our outdoor activities and everything. So awesome job this year. We're looking forward to year two and many, many more with this facility and everything else we have going on in the county. So thank you guys, and we'll be back with our last segment. Got 2 more individuals that will be joining us shortly. Welcome back to Showtime All the Time podcast. I'm joined by 2 other members of our team. We've talked operations, we've talked event booking, we're going to be talking about event execution and everything else that goes on here. We have Dawn back there. We haven't talked marketing yet. We got to get Dawn on sometime to talk a little marketing. She's shaking her head no. But I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves and tell everybody what you do.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm first.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Yeager. I'm a retired senior intern out here. Handle special projects and whatever anybody else on the staff needs to have done.
Great. And I'm Heather Grubb, and I am the manager of events and guest services for the Sports Authority.
So again, we've talked a lot about getting people here to the building. Then we need to make sure that we run really good events. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Heather, in particular, we always talk about creating a welcoming experience for our guests. Talk a little bit about the guest services side of the facility and what you do and really what our goals are with that.
Yeah. So it's anybody can really build a building and host basketball tournaments and do those kind of things. But really what I think sets apart the center is the customer service that we provide. So it's not just, you're going to come in and get the basics. It's going to go above and beyond, and I think that's what is going to keep people coming back and want to be in the center.
Yeah, and then Tom, your role, we always joke about other duties as assigned, special projects and everything, but Tom's here to jump in and help guide us on a lot of different factors, whether it's bringing events in or the event operation. So you, in your career, you've been in a lot of different buildings, a lot of different stadiums, a lot of different arenas. What's your thoughts when you think about this building and what we built here?
Well, as we look at some of the major events type stuff, NCAA championships, conference championships and things, I think the thing that distinguishes this building from more others is really kind of behind the curtain, the back of the house stuff. We have so much space back there that for a 3,500 seat facility is uncommon, unique probably. And so that's very attractive. Plus the outstanding staff, the event staff that you've put together here, as Heather alluded to, just making it a special experience. So I think it's a combination of a unique facility, unique effort and support that we provide is very attractive to promoters.
I think one of the things that's come through in our first 2 segments is the variety of events that we can do here. And I hear Heather chuckling because she may know where I'm going with this too, is it's not just sports. And Heather's been on the front lines of that for us, especially as it relates to a lot of different county events. We just had the State of the County address here. Talk a little bit about those other uses. It is a sports and events center, so not everything that's happening here is sports. So talk about the variety and some of the other events that you've worked on.
I never thought that I would walk into a basketball court and feel like I'm in a ballroom. So the transformations that can happen here are really, it's amazing. Just kind of thinking about what the arena looks like when it's set up for basketball and being able to turn that into really a state-of-the-art place for people to come and they feel like they're at, a hotel ballroom. So I think the versatility of it is impressive, and honestly I was kind of skeptical. I was like, how are we going to make these things work? But they've been phenomenal, especially graduations excuse me, having those here, and it just kind of showcases the different types of things that we can have.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, we had 9 graduations this past year. Just as a reminder to everybody, we're going to 17 next year. Yeah, all right. Just want to make sure everyone understands that. Yeah. 2 weeks of them. 2 weeks of graduation.
They're setting up a craft show right now as we speak.
Exactly. Again, I think it shows that versatility of the building. I've always been amazed when we brought people here, like even during the hard hat tours, and people were like, wait a minute, I had no idea, A, it was this big, and B, you didn't build a gymnasium here. So I love the flexibility in that. Tom was on the front lines with me when we went down to pitch the A10 on bringing the women's basketball championship. And that's been kind of a recurring theme in this podcast. The A10 has been, again, one of those signature events that we had in year one. And Tom, we went down there with some pretty pictures and a story to tell. You know, what are your remembrances of that?
Well, it was, first off, they were all good friends, so that was the start of it. But we started on the hard hat tour part of the stuff, and it was a leap of faith to, I think, for the conference to put their trust in us holding a signature event for them. And you know, I think that they were impressed by the seriousness and the commitment that we have, that we knew what we were doing. You know, this wasn't just, you know, a lot of times you can be approached by, you know, communities that just want to sell stuff, and then, you know, the execution part isn't there. But they had a level of trust in us. We worked with them. We were able to, you know, accommodate you know, the championship needs. And then to Heather's point about providing the experience for the teams, the fans, the coaches, everybody else, that it was a great win. And then we were real fortunate year one, a local team was in the final, you know, so that helped, you know, solidify the event in a lot of people's minds locally.
Definitely. I want to go back to something that Heather said in regards to, you know, that how we can transform this place. One of those transformational events was the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, which I'll also mention that Tom is a member of the Hall of Fame. He's on the Hall of Fame board. I'm going to go reverse this time. Talk a little bit about the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame coming here, and then Heather will talk a little bit about that execution and that setup as well.
Well, it was a big event. As you can see out here, we have a display in the building, and it's going to continue to expand. This was the first time in the 51-year history of the hall that it was held outside of Hampton Roads. And we were able to transform the main arena into the theater style. The pictures of it are fun. You wouldn't recognize where it was. It gave us a space, an event that had been crammed into kind of a hotel ballroom and, you know, down in the beach area and restricted in size and stuff could come here. And then, you know, again, incorporating the things that we did to make the event special. You know, like immediately afterwards, he said, "We're coming back." Yeah. You know, and that was special. And we had, you know, we had Olympic gold medalists here. We had Hall of Fame folks. I mean, you know, it was an amazing evening that, you know, the Richmond region was able to experience, and will so in coming years.
Yeah. What about some of your remembrances from that Hall of Fame night, and, you know, again, how this place looked?
Well, I'm going to be honest. So before I started with the Sports and Entertainment Authority, I didn't really know much about sports. And so I've learned a lot, and I've learned that the people who are into sports are into sports. So like what Tom said, if you know there's an Olympian in the building, like how amazing is that? There's former and current NFL players in the building. So just kind of seeing and being able to respect what's happening in this building, who the people in the building are was really unique. And I think too, when we talk about the like little extras, we have a joke kind of in our department that we call it the sparkles. So we want to always make sure we provide the sparkle for any event, no matter what it is. So that's kind of how we provide the best service.
The sparkle is a standing agenda item for some of our events.
I finally figured that out because I kind of like missed a meeting or two when you like labeled it. I'm going, what are the sparkles? What's a sparkle team?
The event entertainment side of it. It's the sparkle. It's the, so obviously a year has flown by with this facility. You guys have seen it, you know, from groundbreaking and, you know, the highest beam going across the top and different things that we did, hard hat tours and all that. But then the first year of being open, what stands out to you the most? Is there a funny story, a favorite memory that you have in year one?
Do you have one?
I do. I do. One of the things, we came out early in the process, and again, it's kind of a testament to a little bit of the multi-purpose ability of the building. When you're in the arena, championship arena setup, and you want to play basketball, you're overlaid like 4 courts, and there's enough lines out there, it looks like a plaid sofa, you know. And, you know, I went to Dennis, you know, some of these profile events, they aren't going to play out here. You can't figure out which lines are which. And so we started to explore a portable floor. And the first one was, I was at home and I have a picture in my office of an aerial shot of the Richmond Coliseum when the CAA tournament was there. I'm going, I wonder where that floor is. You know, so we made a couple phone calls and found out it was in storage in the city, and we went through a long, protracted, it's kind of sight unseen. It's been in a warehouse for 5 years. And, kind of going back and forth, and it eventually, the city put it up on kind of a government eBay auction. And we had authorization. We can go to this amount because it's sight unseen, type thing. And I'm in Florida at the time on vacation when the auction comes up, and we're sitting there watching it on the computer, and the numbers keep going up, and we blew way past what we were.
I think we got one bid in. We're like, okay, we're done.
Yeah. And we're sitting there, and it just kept going. So that went out the window. But one of the things we also did then was, I was aware that the NCAA sells the courts from the regional, the NCAA basketball tournaments after they're done. They have like 1 weekend to play on it, 3 games. And we had tracked down through some contacts that one was available. It was substantially more than we were going to pay, but it was brand new too. And so we were able to ultimately secure an NCAA tournament floor. And toward that end, I got something, a visual aid for you.
Show and tell.
This is for you, Dennis, but it's,
thank you.
as it say on our corner floor, that you are playing on the 2023 NCAA Tournament South Regional Court from Louisville, Kentucky.
That's awesome.
And it's out there.
Sign it.
Yeah, but it was, and for the kids that are coming out on the thing, and they step on, it's on the corner from each locker room. So as the kids come out and step on that, it gives me chills, and I think it does them too. So.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal on television, by the way. So it looks great. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But in fairness, I just have to say, on the auction piece, it wasn't just a basketball court. There was a massive stage that they used to use in the Coliseum for concerts. Concerts. Garth Brooks played on this stage. So all right. So Heather, what jumps out at you as a favorite memory, story? What do you have?
So we ran into a lot of times going into events, realizing that we were maybe missing a piece or two that was important. So one event that came to mind, it was Media Day, and we're looking around. We're like, there are no trash cans here because the building was still technically under construction. So those kind of things happened.
We had construction trash cans. They were big and orange.
Yeah, but they weren't pretty. We couldn't put the ugly trash cans out. So there was a few times that things like that would happen, but what sticks out most is during the A10 championship, we got this beautiful custom cake for the commissioner to come cut the cake. We have county officials. So it's going to be a very important ceremonial kind of piece. So I'm looking around, I'm like, we don't have a knife. There's no knife to cut the cake. So I'm like, okay, we can't run to Home Depot. There's not enough time for that. So I come down to the kitchen, and one of the employees, I'm like, do you have a cake cutting knife? And they're like, no, but here you go, and hands me this like giant, essentially butcher knife. And so I'm coming out of the kitchen with this knife, and I'm running down the hallway, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is probably not safe. And
don't run with scissors in your hand. Yeah. Really don't run with a butcher knife in your hand.
Butcher knives, but it worked out. We got the cake cut, and it was sort of behind the scenes, but it was that scramble of panic trying to, make things happen. But fortunately, we've been able to
buy our own knife.
We have knives now. We have cake cutting knives and servers.
We've
come so far.
Some of the things that we need, yeah. So I could go on listening to stories all day, and hopefully all of you have enjoyed that. But we're going to get ready to wrap up our podcast. I want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you for your effort and everything that you've done, and our entire team, and the county leadership, and everyone who has come together to make this building a success. And again, year one has flown by. I'm sure year two will go just fly by just as quickly. But again, we're making a really, really big impact here on our community and on our region, and it's just a great team effort. So again, I want to say thank you to our team, the ASM building staff team here, all the departments that have pitched in over the year and continue to pitch in. from the county to make this such a success. So I'm going to sign off by saying don't forget December 6th through the 8th, our first year anniversary celebration, since we've been talking about it now for 30 plus minutes. Now you got to come out and enjoy it. You got to come out December 6th, Friday, cheer and gear donation drive, bring a new football, basketball, soccer ball to donate to the Salvation Army. We're going to do a toast to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. There's a happy hour that starts at 5 o'clock. And then the Battle of the Badges, police versus fire. I have a feeling this is going to be on a lot of people's memory list for year 2. Police versus fire. They're really good at their job. We just don't know if they're good basketball players or not. So we're going to find that out. That'll be a lot of fun, free and open to the public, 7 o'clock on December 6th. And then December 8th, the University of Richmond women's basketball team take on the Columbia Lions, 2 o'clock. Tickets are on sale. Go to henricosca.com. And then that game with U of R really starts that drive towards the A-10 Women's Basketball Championship in March. Again, we've mentioned that a lot on this segment of the podcast. But again, thank you also to all of our promoters, everyone who's trusted us to bring their events here. We appreciate that, and we look forward to year 2 of the Henrico Sports and Events Center. Thank you for joining us for the Showtime All the Time podcast. Thank you.